Hi team, thanks for coming to the workshop the other day. It's Claire and Oliver here from Recharge Physio. We're going to run you through the promised video of a little workout / warm-up routine for you.
Yeah, so this can be used ideally before any class that you go into. So if you're coming into a Pilates class, if you're going into a strength class, or even if you're going for a walk, somewhere out in nature, or going to be on a boat all day, or go play some golf, whatever it is, this will help to get your glutes firing properly so that we've got good stability around the lumbar spine and around the knees to reduce any pain sort of in the spine and the hip and the knee when you're doing those activities or after. So you can run through this little routine before any of those activities, but also you could just run through this routine 2 or 3 times a week. Heck, you could even run through it every day if you like, and just get those glutes really nice and strong and open up those areas of the spine so the glutes can fire properly. So let's get into it. So Claire's going to be working through these exercises today, and I'm going to be talking her through the form and technique. So you can set yourself up with a yoga mat, set yourself up on the floor, wherever's comfortable, and work through this full routine with us. And you can play it back anytime you like to work through the full routine before you go ahead to any of those activities. So starting off lying in a crook lying position, lying on your back with your knees up. You should feel a good amount of space in the hips here. You shouldn't feel like there's any pinching in the hip. If you are, you can either move your feet back or forward to wherever's comfortable. So we'll start off by straightening the left leg and shuffling the hips a little over to the right. So we've created space on the left side of the body here. Now we're going to take the right foot and place it either on the left knee or slightly down on the left shin, if you're finding that range of motion is a challenge there. Take the left hand, place it on the right knee, and we're just going to be pulling that right knee over to the left side of the body. You can stretch your arm out. We don't want to be lifting this right shoulder off the floor, okay? But ideally you're going to feel like you're stretching and opening through the lumbar spine here. You can actually hook your fingers around your hamstring there and give yourself a little pull just to get some more opening through the lumbar spine. We're opening up those little joints so we can get the nerve pathway to the glutes working properly. So we're going to do a 30-second hold, or we can do some little pulses just coming in and out for a 5-second hold each if that feels comfortable, and then switching over to the other side. So just a minute in total. So let's just hold there for another 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6. You can actually turn your head a little to the right as well. That way we're getting a really good twist all the way through the spine. Perfect. And slowly coming back up to where you were, you can shuffle your hips across to the middle and then extend the right leg. Shuffle the hips across all the way to the left to create space on that right side. And then opposite side, we're going to lift the left foot onto the right knee or a little bit below it, and just gently pulling that left knee over to the right side. Stretching the left hand out, you can look that way if it feels comfortable, and just putting a little bit of tension, pulling up with that hand on the left knee, just to create a little bit more opening through here. So we're doing a rotation through the spine and also a little bit of a flexion through the spine, pulling up there as well. Excellent. We'll hold there for another 15 seconds. You can take some nice deep breaths, and one thing that really helps when we're doing long cold stretches like this is breathing in. Try not to put too much stretch onto the body, and then as you breathe out, just let the body fall gently into wherever feels comfortable in that position. We don't want to push too hard, too fast, otherwise we might sort of overstretch or strain something. Should feel nice and comfortable, and ideally you're going to feel a bit of a pull through your lower back the longer that you stay in this. You can do these for up to a minute, but 30 seconds is sort of the minimum amount that we would recommend. Cool, so coming back up into that crook lying position. After having done that, we're going to move into a few glute bridges. So the glute bridge is a little different to a standard bridge. So if I ask Claire to just do a standard bridge, she's just going to lift her hips up high as she can and show us that there's a lot of arch in the lumbar spine there, okay? So we don't really want that arch in the back because that's going to close those joints off. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower back down. We're going to do this in a bit of a different way. So tucking the tailbone first. See how Claire's lifted the tailbone? We're going to tuck the tailbone, then lift the tailbone, lift the lower spine, then slowly work up vertebra by vertebra. We're working at lifting up. Perfect. Once Claire gets to there, she's going to feel a great squeeze in her glutes, and notice that the spine is not arching like it was before. There's a flat line through her all the way to her knees. Then she's going to lower down from the thoracic spine. So the upper back coming down slowly, vertebra by vertebra. And then the very last thing to come down will be the tuck of that tailbone. Boom. So we're just going to work through 10 of those nice and slowly, coming back up. feeling the glutes squeeze on the way up, and no need to hold, just come straight back down, nice and slowly. Good. Again, if there's any sort of pinching in the hip, you can adjust your feet a little wider along the plinth or a little further in. Generally, people find this exercise a little easier to get the glutes firing if their heels are closer into their hips. All right. And you can also put your feet a little wider if you need to, if there's any discomfort in the hips. Now, one thing that we're looking for here is to make sure that the knees aren't collapsing inwards. So as Claire continues in with that, we want to make sure that those knees are in a shoulder width position. So same as her shoulder width, she's not letting the knees crush in, and feet shoulder width apart as well. All right. Now, you can keep going with your bridges at home, and I'm just going to show what a progression would be for this exercise with Claire. So a progression to this one would be to do exactly the same thing, but with a slight pressure outwards on a band. And you don't have to use a heavy band for this. It's just as a warm-up exercise, this is just a little activation of the glutes. So as we roll up and come back down, the glutes on the outside here are going to have to use a little bit more force to keep that band out as it tries to pull the knees in. Let's just do another 3 reps there. And of course, you can get a heavier band and use this as a heavier band, but for the purpose that we are using this exercise today, which is to keep the lumbar spine open and get a little bit of glute activation, we don't want to go too heavy. And the reason we don't want to go too heavy is if we do go too heavy, then other muscles are going to start kicking in, and potentially those glutes that we want firing aren't going to work in the same effective way that we would otherwise be desiring. So next we come into side lying for our clamshell. So Claire's lying on her side. She's going to have her knees just more than 90 degrees. So we're not quite at 90 degrees, we're just a bit more than 90 degrees. And she's got her shoulders stacked, her hips stacked, and her ankles stacked, okay? Heels together. Now the heels can sit slightly behind that line of the body, okay? We don't want to see you doing your clamshells with your feet out here like this. It's not going to work. All right, so coming back like this, perfect. And you can play around with that angle that the hip is at if you're not feeling it in the right spot. So I'm going to get Claire to flex her feet slightly. So flexing up, perfect. And then we're pivoting on the hip and the heel to open at the knee and open at the toe as well. So opening that toe up too. Perfect. Cool. And coming back down. So we want to come down all the way so that those knees are touching, and then come back up with control. All right. Now, what we don't want to do is when Claire comes up, we're not going to rotate back at the hip to try and get that knee higher. We don't want to do that because it's just spine movement happening. So we want to come up to wherever we can and then slowly move down. Perfect. Now there's a couple of things we can do if we're not feeling the exercise across, as a band across the glutes here. All right, that's where we should be feeling it. First thing we can do is we can just have a play around of that angle of the hip joint. Are you feeling any glute activity there, Claire? Yeah, so she's feeling it there, so she's on a great angle there as is. But if she wasn't feeling, all I'd simply do is move the angle of the hip slightly back or forward to find that spot where she's feeling it the most. Second thing we can make sure we're doing is lifting at the ribs slightly and engaging the core, okay? That's gonna enable us to transfer weight into the glutes better. And the third thing is, if you're really not feeling it after doing all that stuff correctly, is you can lift both feet off the floor just slightly, which will make the exercise even harder. And we're going to be working this muscle that goes from this hip bone on the outside here across to the sacrum. So you should feel there's a little bit of a band doing some work there. Now we're going to aim for 15 reps to start off with, and once that gets easy, we can add in 1 rep every time we do it until we get to 25. And we're going to do that on each side twice. Great, Claire's probably at about 25 there now. Perfect. So staying on that side, we're going to go into our second exercise on that side. So 2 exercises on one side, then the same on the other side. So staying in that position, all we're going to do is straighten the top leg. Okay, straightening that top leg. We're going to also have that hip rolled forward on this side. We don't want to be rolling back at all. Crucial for this exercise. Have the hip rolled forward. You could even put that hand on your hip to make sure that it's not rolling back. We're going to again flex the foot just slightly. Perfect. And then lifting that leg up and slightly back. I'm going to show you that from a different angle. So we're not going directly to the ceiling, we're going up and slightly back. And what that's encouraging is activation of the glute instead of the TFL in the front here and the hip flexor. All right, so start off with 10 reps each side for this one. Ideally, we're going to be doing 15 reps each side for 2 sets. Okay, so Claire's on 5, 6, is it 5 or 6? Yeah. Something like that. Tell me if there's a bit of a burn going in the butt. Yep, excellent, cool. Great, let's do another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. So let's switch to the other side now and do clamshell and side lying leg raise on the other side. All right, second side. So we're going to be doing exactly the same as the other side, making sure those feet are in that same position on this side, heels together, flexing the toes slightly, flexing the feet slightly, that's it, perfect. And then making sure those ribs are lifted and bringing the knee up and opening at the foot, perfect. And then coming back down, excellent. 2, 3. That's the full range that Claire's got available. Unless she rocks her hip back and does the exercise incorrectly, she can't actually lift higher than that. So that's totally fine. It's a small range exercise and that's its best effectiveness. Cool. Feeling a bit of a burn on that right side? And I know that Claire's got a bit of a weak right hip, so that's why she's feeling it more. Now, if you're feeling it more on one side than the other, that's totally fine. If you're unable to get to 10 reps on the other side, or 15 reps, or whatever the number is for the exercise, then just work to the maximum reps that you can do on the weakest side. We don't want to grow both sides stronger if we've got a weakness only on one side. Cool. So again, those sets, we want to do 15 reps of the clamshell. Build 1 rep in per day until you get up to 25 reps for 2 sets on each side. And then for the side lying leg raise, which Claire's going to switch over to now. Great, coming on up, perfect, up and back, excellent. So we're going to start off with 10 reps. If you can manage 10, add 1 in each per day until we get to 15. Now it's important when we're doing these exercises not to be propped up on the elbow. Don't just prop yourself up on your elbow. If Claire pops up herself on her elbow like that, what's going to happen is we get compression in the lumbar spine and we're much more likely to roll back and do this incorrectly like this. Okay, terrible exercise to do. Don't do it like that. Roll the hip forward, head down, up and back with the glute. Perfect. Now we want to make sure that we're not over-activating the lumbar spine here and overarching. So if possible, we could put a little bit of a tuck of the tailbone there just to make sure we're not using lumbar extension. And then we might notice we can't actually come as high. That's because only the hip is doing movement, not the lumbar spine. But we're still getting a very good squeeze in the glute. That's a great way of doing this exercise. Perfect. So that's 1 set of each on each side. Run through that whole thing twice, and that's your warm-up routine. One last thing you can put in after doing the glute activations is some sit-stands with a band or some squats with a band. So if you're a bit more of a beginner level, we want feet shoulder width apart, knees shoulder width apart. Notice I have to push out on the band in order to get those knees shoulder width apart, and already I can feel my glutes working to do that. Alright, you can bring your feet back a little bit so it's a little easier to stand up, and we're going to go hands up on shoulders and just standing up, keeping the knees nice and wide, and sit back down. Alright, stand up, sit back down the whole time, keeping the knees nice and wide. 10 reps, you can do 2 sets if that's feeling good, or you can just do 20 reps. Get a good burn going in the glutes. You don't need a heavy band for this. If you've only got a light band, that's totally fine as well, as long as you're feeling a bit of activation going on in the glute. If you're feeling like you're ready for a little bit more of an advanced version, you don't have to do the sit down. You can just do the same thing from a standing position, coming down and back up without sitting down on anything. Alright, don't come down lower, so the hips are lower than the knees. Just come down to around knee height and back up again. Again, pushing out on the band. What we don't want to see is any knees caving in like that. The glutes are not firing. To get the glutes working, we push out and back up. So again, just 10 reps, 2 sets, or you can just go for 20 reps in a row.